Alright, man. What's up, No Limit Gang, man? We back with a banger video, shorty. Let's start there. We got on how drill changed the west side of Chicago, man. How did drill change the west side of Chicago? We're going to find out. You can't ask me, because I don't know. I can't tell you right now. I ain't from the rack. But we about to see what's going on about the rack so we can know what's going on about it. You hear me? Let's start there.
So many things in Chicago make so very little sense. Why is our vice mayor a former bank robber? Why was the most
What? Yo, a mayor is a former bank robber is crazy. Let's start there, bro. Now, Chicago already corrupt when you doing stuff like that.
make so very little sense? Why is our vice mayor a former bank robber? Why
That is crazy, bro. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. Mayor was a former bank robber. So imagine what sneaky stuff he be doing. I ain't saying you did the same stuff. I ain't saying you can't change, but damn.
Chicago make so very little sense? Why is our vice mayor a former bank robber? Why was the most corrupt politician in the city the most influential? How did the mob, the most well-known organized crime syndicate in the entire country, end up transitioning into legal business so successfully that they now own city property and thus make taxpayer money? Just look at these two charts. They're 10 years old, but not much has changed, at least in Chicago. Now in New York City, the homicide rate remained within 5 to 15 people per every 100,000 in most of the city, meaning that regardless if only 15% of your neighborhood was in poverty or 30%, you could argue that you still had the same chance of being murdered to some extent. Except Mid-South Manhattan, apparently, the area just south of Midtown Manhattan but north of the Flatiron District, where only 10% of the area is impoverished, but you are far more likely to be a victim of a murderer. But with how much New York changes, it's unclear if this still remains the same. However, looking at the same chart in Chicago, there is a clear difference. The most impoverished neighborhoods in and around the city see a far lower homicide rate than areas where poverty is 30% less prevalent. Fuller Park is the only neighborhood with a homicide rate above 100 per every 100,000, where over 50% of the residents are in poverty. Majority of the neighborhoods in the middle are on the south side, including areas like Inglewood, and despite many of the clickbait YouTube videos, Woodlawn, where the most famous hood in Chicago is nowhere near the most dangerous part of the city, nor has it ever been.
That's crazy, bro. It's a lot we don't know about this, John. But we about to find out today.
Hood in Chicago is nowhere near the most dangerous part of the city, nor has it ever been outside of maybe a month or two over the past 10 years. Burnside is by far the wealthiest neighborhood with a homicide rate over 100 people per 100,000, and this is due to the fact that gang violence in Chicago is very unorthodox, as many streets and neighborhoods in the city are very well kept and clean. Unless you're a local, you'd never be able to tell if you were in a bad neighborhood or not in most of the south side. And this is due to only about 1% of each neighborhood on the south side contributing to the crime, as most black families in this area are primarily entrepreneurs or city and state workers. But right here is the danger zone, where poverty finally meets violence. Here we have East and West Garfield Park and North Lawndale. If you don't know what this is, welcome to the west side of Chicago. A completely different world than the south side, from the lingo to the way people dress and even the way the streets are set up, as many people from the south side are completely unable to navigate this area due to the south side primarily being navigated by numbers, i.e. 63rd, 64th, and 65th. It doesn't take rocket science to know that all of these are a block apart from each other. But how would...
Yeah, it don't take no rocket science, but the crazy thing is, they be a block away from each other, but they don't be messing with each other. Ain't that crazy, bro? They be a block away, just a block, a few steps away, and they don't be messing with each other. That's why murders be cracking out there. Some niggas want to be around the corner for real. What the hell? I'm gonna spend on my ops every day, shit. I ain't got nothing to live for.
Would you know that Karlov, Keeler, Kildare, and Cullen are all a block apart? Unless you know the west side. That's an area known as K-Town, by the way, for obvious reasons. You got 10 blocks in a row, back to back, all starting with a K. This is also within Garfield Park. As you can see on this map, this large concentration of blue, dark blue being the most dangerous, the west side has far eclipsed the south side in danger, as despite the reputation, there are plenty of areas out south you can walk around without a problem, and many people in Chicago don't even know this. And like I said, the south side even looks nice for the most part, but this changes quite a bit on the west side. Also, if you ever want to offend somebody from the West Side, which I don't.
Oh, so it's a difference between South and West Side of Chicago, man. South is like more calmed down, and West Side is more rocket, shorty, man. That's crazy.
Don't recommend, just ask them if they still bop. The West Side used to be known for dancing, getting money, and the fact that you could party over there without getting viciously murdered. Now, there's no doubt that in 2025, Von off 1700 is the hottest rapper from the West Side with basically the whole city on his back. But he represents the shift in Chicago from South to West, although this shift started while Von was still just a kid. The South Side, to be honest, has been known for the past 30 years as a part of the city where if you was gangbanging, you were more likely to get killed over nothing, essentially. Way before you ever got in a dispute over some money or even started to hustle. Or was this just perception? And the West Side was always worse all along. I know that people from outside the hood might think that everywhere people are gangbanging over things like territory or selling drugs, but this is Chicago, not Mexico. On the South Side, a young guy will kill you for talking to his girlfriend before he kills you over any block or street or anything like that.
Oh, yeah. He said, yeah, that's how you know South Side more calm down, more chill. He'll kill you by his girlfriend before he kill you by the block.
Most of these guys out here ain't never hustled a day in their life. It's killers that get busy hunting their ops in the streets or posted up playing defense on the block right before they go back to their mama house and ask what's for dinner. The difference with the West Side, at least 10 to 15 years ago, is that this is where gangbanging was closer to the stereotype that most people in the outside would imagine. Those guys got money, ran extortion rackets, had 50,000 a day operations going on, if not more. Madison Street on the West Side has been featured in several documentaries in the past when the Sinaloa cartel was feeding the plugs in this area. People from out of town and even the rich kids downtown and in the suburbs knew where to come to get the best quality high. And if you haven't heard of the Flores twins in Chicago, they were at one time considered the biggest drug traffickers in the United States, and they used to buy directly from the Sinaloa. After they
Oh, and they got caught, bro. It don't never last too long because somebody always tell him, bro. Somebody always tell him.
biggest drug traffickers in the United States, and they used to buy directly from the Sinaloa. After they were arrested in 2008, it came out that several of their family members helped them out with laundering and hiding money all over the country. And they also helped the FBI's case against El Chapo. Fun fact, I'm not gonna say his first name, but in 2000,
He helped the case against El Chapo is crazy. I ain't gonna back to you. How you selling stuff and then you helping somebody else get?
several of their family members helped them out with laundering and hiding money all over the country. And they also helped the FBI's case against El Chapo. Fun fact, I'm not gonna say his first name, but in 2004 when I was a kid, me and my mom lived in an apartment on the west side, and our landlord was a young man, last name Flores. He couldn't have been older than 35, but he owned several properties in the city and appeared to be very wealthy, and he was always in a good mood. I remember visiting his house when my mom was paying rent, and he had a huge aquarium built in the walls that ran basically through his entire apartment unit. But we only got to live in one of his apartments for about 11 months before all of a sudden we had to move because the FBI had begun seizing Flores' property. He had apparently been suspected or accused of drug trafficking. And that's pretty much all I'm gonna say about that. The different sides in Chicago, like in any big city, might as well be different cities altogether. And while the South Side was gang banging and you couldn't stay at a party past 1 a.m. without hearing heavy artillery, the West Side has always been the part where no doubt gang banging has always played a big role and you can definitely still get hurt. But this historically used to be the part where everybody was comfortable staying outside all night. Nobody on the West Side ever used to be in the house, and it was never an issue to pop out there and have a good time and even be out all night until the sun came up. Something that you wouldn't expect from a city as dangerous as Chicago, especially not in an area as dangerous as the West Side. But I've seen it myself. Despite the gangs, this used to be the area where people felt the most comfortable, at least in the hood. Now, I'd say the change started around the part of the drill era where drill kind of started to fall off in 2015, 2016. That's when the biggest rapper out of the city was by far Famous Dex, who, despite coming from
Bro, Famous Dex was hard, bro. Chat, bro. I know y'all don't forget about Famous Dex, bro. Famous Dex had stuff cracking, man. He had it cracking.
Inglewood, he brought a completely different energy to music with his unique style, and he even got some criticism because even though he came up around guys like FBG Duck, who was already big in drill, once he realized that his more party-oriented music was taking off and probably an easier sell to a record label to sign him, he left everybody. And you can't blame the labels. The Chief Keef era from 2014 to 2017 was legendary, but from a label standpoint, all he had done was drop an album that didn't perform as well as they wanted to, and because they weren't focused on underground success like they were in the SoundCloud era, which ironically came right after Keef got out of his deal and cemented his place as an underground legend. But when Dex, Playboy Cardi, and even Lil Pump came up in this underground wave, music shifted away from drill briefly, but it ended up making a full comeback by 2018 when Duck dropped Slide and A Certain Guy got out of jail and went straight to the top of the charts. And during this time, violence on the west side was slowly increasing, and unfortunately, drill was becoming a way out again, and I'm sure the guys out west were more than tired of hearing the south side people thinking they were still just dancing and gangbanging. And again, I must stress this, the west side was always dangerous. When I lived over there before high school, my neighborhood school was Crane, which for an introduction, right after we moved to the area, somebody got killed shooting dice in front of the school, and I was terrified that one day this was going to be the school I was going to have to attend if I didn't get accepted into another high school in the city. I was in second grade, by the way, so I don't even know why I was worried about starting high school, but the west side just might be the most unique part of the city, but man, when you're out there, it's very clear.
Dying shooting dice is crazy, bro. That is crazy, bro. Chicago is crazy. Niggas used to die shooting dice. Just saying, niggas used to die all types of ways, shorty. I used to video in the school that they had, bro. They used to record in the school, and the kids used to just be crashing out. I was younger watching that vid. It was like black kids in Chicago. It was a video of like inside their school or something, in middle school. The little niggas was crashing out for no reason, bro. Told the teacher you'll smack him or something on.
Where you are, whether you're in Humble Park, Austin, or Little Village, each neighborhood is very distinct, and if you weren't old enough to remember when people call parties fifis, man, you really missed out.
Man, calling a party fifi is crazy, chat. Let's start there. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe for your boy. We got more vids dropping tonight. We about to keep these joints up, and you know your boy about to keep it threading. Let's start there, shorty.